After God realization, what next? In my experience, first the mind stops. No more aimless involuntary thought. That happens in existence. Then there's the realization of immortality, one with all life. Then the realization of nothing, or God being responsible for everything. Then emptiness, not emptiness. Emptiness is what people have in the depths of despair when their frustrated desire patterns are choking them. The realized man has been emptied, by grace. Then the realization of supreme being, which is neither nothing or anything. All these realizations are of different deepening levels of God beyond physical existence. Life is not in existence. Nothing or God is not in existence, except as everything. The source of emptiness is certainly not in existence, nor is supreme being. The realization of divine being at any level has to be brought into existence. Every realized being is doing this through his day-to-day activities. Finally, however, there is a higher purpose, to free the existential being of existence. The existential being is a lower level of the one divine being. The higher has to free the lower. What we're talking of here is ultimate freedom, or unity of being, beyond the common understanding of these things. Nor is it necessarily in the knowledge of all realized beings. I can only say what is in my experience, and therefore of my knowledge. Freeing the existential being of existence means freedom from the need for recurrence. Recurrence is not the same as the personalized notion of reincarnation. Freedom from recurrence is indeed an all-embracing cosmic endeavor, meaning that the result is beyond life and death. As such, it is beyond rationality, but not beyond divine knowledge. Free in existence is not the same as free of existence. Free in existence is an inner state of equilibrium that follows a certain depth of divine realization. Free of existence is the absence of the need of recurrence. It's a mistake to believe that freedom from recurrence simply follows the realization of God. God is realized out of existence. Freedom from recurrence must be done in existence, which is the field of recurrence. It seems to me that freedom from recurrence is only possible by man who has first attained a level of God realization equivalent to divine equilibrium. He has to apply the same one-pointedness to the love of the principle of woman as he did to reach the realization of God that gave him equilibrium, without being put off by the existential being. The principle of woman is God in existence for man, and the existential being exists only because of its blind and self-serving attachment to the sexuality of woman, instead of devotion to the principle within her. To avoid any erroneous assumptions or pretense of God realization, divine equilibrium is a constant state free of depression, mood, doubt, fear, and excitement. Depression, doubt, mood, fear, and excitement are characteristics of unconscious sex. The powerhouse human existence is impelled by the sexual drive. The sexual drive is identical with the drive for power. Humanity is attached to the sexual drive. This is an unconscious bond. The bond has to be made conscious. The realized being has to come down, as it were, into the fiery center of it all and rescue the existential being. It's a mighty task. And because of the prolonged emotional and often crazed reactions of the existential being, only man who has realized the selflessness of divine equilibrium can cope, persist, and, as it were, finish the job. Nonetheless, the truth is that nothing is ever concluded here in existence. Although everything happens here, the value of it, the essential meaning and worth, is registered in another place within. Two laws only are behind the apparent complexity of existence. One is force, the other divine power. Force is the sexual power drive into existence which organizes the innumerable human pairings, groupings, and associations. Divine power is the irresistible pull of everything back out of existence into nothing, God or source. Hence everybody dies and everything extant gradually disappears into nothing. The indisputable attraction that sustains existence is between the genders, male and female. Only they together can procreate. This is not to dismiss sexual attraction between same genders, but that attraction is not in my experience and not what I'm speaking of. Even so, attraction to anything is a form of love. Interest in anything is a lesser form of love, but is still love. Love of one individual for another is further up the scale. But human love is personal and characterized by attachment, which eventually causes pain. Love at its highest, as I've described, is divine, impersonal, and all-embracing. So vast in its effect, so powerful and ever-present is it, that the human condition fails to discern or appreciate its irresistible pull, and therefore fears the terminal effect. So it can be said that love is responsible for everything. with one essential difference. Driving in, love is unconscious. Coming back, it's conscious. And that's what's happened to the realized being. By grace he has been drawn back sufficiently into the reality of God within to be conscious. God's limitless depths. God within is limitless and depthless, but there are ever-descending finer levels of God. Thus a man's first realization of God or life, immortality, is certainly God. And to him it will be God realization. But God is not just life. God is beyond life. Another man may realize a deeper level, and his realization will reveal a greater depth of knowledge of God. And so the depth and realizations of God can continue until the final sublime reality of physical death. To free the existential being, the realized man with his extraordinary consciousness of uninterrupted equilibrium has to merge completely with the unconscious sexual aberration that sustains existence away from God, without losing his consciousness. The sexual drive is still part of his nature irrespective of any wishful claims to the contrary. In fact, the realized man is often sexually active. He may endeavor to transmit the consciousness he is to woman. As worthy as that may be to him, and there are many pretenders, he has to do something greater. He must emulate the mythologized fiction of the bodhisattva, who refuses to enter nirvana until everyone is free. The realized man must walk willingly into the furnace and free the existential being whose blind unconsciousness is behind everyone's sexuality and all misery on earth. If he is celibate by choice or through adherence to a religious belief, he won't be able to do it. There will be fear in him. Sexual arousal is a narcotic that dulls the senses and induces a kind of stupor. It is addictive and causes a temporary sense of well-being, just like a drug. And just like a drug, it contains its own downside. For a woman not addicted at the time, nor looking for emotional comfort, but willing out of imagined duty to participate, sex dulls her natural pleasurable sensations and becomes tedious. All this is sex without love. Sex with love revitalizes the natural feelings. Sex with love in fact dissolves many old residual emotions that bind the existential being. But the existential being does not know real love. Real love is not emotional, so lacks the comforting warmth that human love expects and is attached to. This often provokes the existential being into a fury of frustration. But the realized man who's fit for this job has the love of God or source in him. Knowing what he's doing and that his consciousness is eroding unconsciousness for good, he perseveres through flak and shrapnel. Where there is conscious love, sexual arousal is not necessary. The presence of the divine love is sufficient. But only the God-realized man, he who is beyond excitement, depression, mood, fear, or doubt, can love in this way. Other men can approach the state through surrender to love. But the essential element is the ongoing conscious equilibrium throughout the entire life. Without that, there will be intermittent negative feelings. The source of misery. The fact remains that the whole of existence, which is holy, arises out of woman's womb, which is holy. Woman's womb is the womb of life. So where does the misery in existence come from? Unconscious men and women play in the vagina. That play, like the suffering in existence, goes on indefinitely. But the consciousness of divine lovemaking I'm speaking of continually erodes the resistance in the vagina and eventually passes into the womb, the core of existence. Their union occurs with the God consciousness of woman that gives precious life and love to the world. Where is the woman in all this? Well, where is the man? The man of the consciousness capable of this love does not exist. He is nothing. He has realized that. He is simply a body, an event. If the man is nothing, the woman in truth must also be nothing. Everything pointing to the contrary is part of the play of existence powered by the distraction from God of the sexual power drive, the playground of the existential being. There is a notion that existence is an illusion. Existence is not an illusion. Existence is a projection from the inner through the brain producing the outer sensory world of what is, an amazing complete mystery. An illusion is a misinterpretation of what is. Any illusion is in the mind of the interpreter. Here I must reaffirm that the completion or otherwise of what I've spoken of is determined by the divine intelligence itself, not by the man. Only in the striving human condition does choice and personal effort seem to be involved. The ups and downs and at times laborious effort are registered as personal, but something else is holding the hammer. What does it all mean for everybody? Is anything ever really done? No, the only possible real outcome here is the realization of God or divine love. And that doesn't happen in existence, which means it doesn't happen to anybody. It just is, and always was, beneath the garbage of the person. So be it. Thank you for listening.